I would like to welcome to episode 8 of Home Visit by popular demand and request amongst the football coaches in the United States of America, my good buddy, the offensive line coach of the Louisville Cardinals, Jack Bicknell. How we doing, brother?
What's up, Cisco? How you
How
doing,
we
man?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be you, man. You got it. You got it going. All right. So before you and I go back, you're my dog. I love you to death. We have to tell the story. You have to tell the story that you tell. If you really want to know Jack McNeil, you got to hear the first story because it's the first story he tells every recruit, every player, every human being that ever meets him. So, Jack, why don't you tell us about your involvement in the most famous football play in the history of college football, maybe in football altogether?
Well, usually I don't like to talk about this, unlike that introduction. But since you asked, uh, I was probably a lot of people will call this the most famous play in college football history.
Maybe football, period.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's right up there, regardless. You have to be probably 45, a little bit older than that, to really appreciate it, unless you Google it or whatever. But um, for those of us that are over 45, a lot of people can remember. Yeah, so um, and I don't feel like I get as much credit as I deserve at all. I was the first guy to touch the ball. Three people touched the ball. I was the first one. And all you hear about is Flutie to Phelan, but it was actually Bicknell the Flutie to Phelan. Um, you've seen snaps get screwed up before. I could have easily screwed that up. You know what I mean?
You could have.
Under center, and I was in a 4-point stance, so that shows you the little bit of a different age back then. We had basically 46 yards to go in last play of the game. I was in a 4-point stance, but yeah, no. The cool thing about that, though, honestly, and I tell everybody, is what a leader Doug Flutie was, and people forget the game went back and forth. It was a great game. I mean, if you didn't score, you were down 2 touchdowns. We were all exhausted by that point, and they went down and scored. I guess I don't know the exacts, 46 seconds left or whatever it was. Not much time left for sure. And I can just remember kind of saying, "Okay, we lost the game." I mean, I hate to admit it, but I mean, we were obviously going to go out and try. But I remember when we get in the huddle, Doug kind of yelled at everybody and said, "Hey, listen up." He said, "We got to get this thing past midfield so I can throw one up." And right away it was like, wow, we got a plan. Yeah, and we got Doug Flutie, so let's do that. And sure enough, we did. I remember the first pass we threw, there was a holding penalty. And, that's I think we gained like 25 yards, but there was holding, so we had to back it up, and it just did not look good. But we did end up getting it across midfield, and sure enough, he threw it up. And, it's just, he was magic. I don't care what anybody says. If anybody's out there, that wants to just watch just magic in action, just Google Doug Flutie and watch some of his highlights, because he was literally 5'9", not maybe 5'9 and a quarter, but he just was amazing. And he threw it up, and Gerard Phelan caught it. And my dad was the head coach, so it was a really special deal to be able to to spend that with them. And it really literally was a once in a lifetime thing. I've been trying to recreate the moment, but so far haven't been able to quite do it. Won a Super Bowl with the Giants, was pretty cool, but still that game was unbelievable.
I remember, I don't know if I even told you this before. I remember I was a kid. Okay.
Yeah, of course
I'm under 45. So I was a kid,
Yeah.
but I remember watching that game. And you remember watching the game because of the moment that happened with Doug Flutie throwing the infamous Hail Mary to beat Miami, and, huge underdogs, the whole deal. But I remember watching that game. I was in Weaver, Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
with my granddad, and we were watching that game. It was just him and I watching the ball game on TV. Back then, it's not like it is now
Yep,
where you can watch every ball game in America.
that's right.
There were very few games on TV. Maybe one or two, three a week, 100 years ago. But I watched that with my granddad, and that was a memory. Like when I think about my granddad, he's passed, God rest his soul. But um, when I think about my granddad and the times we spent together, and all, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is
Yeah.
him and I as a kid. And I'm talking, when I say a kid, I'm like 6, 7 years old, somewhere in there.
Right.
And I remember watching that game with him, just him and I in the living room at their house watching that ball game. So it was,
Yeah,
that's all.
I think that's one of the big things about that game. Like you say, nowadays it probably wouldn't happen because people would be watching different games. That was the Friday after Thanksgiving, whatever time it was. But I think it seemed like everybody in the country was just having leftover Thanksgiving meal, and we were the only game on. And Doug Flutie was a big story back in the because BC before Doug Flutie and really my dad too. I'm going to give my dad all the credit in the world, but they were nothing, and so we were kind of the giant killers still. And Doug Flutie was just a kind of an underdog guy. Nobody wanted him. No Division I schools even offered him. And so I think it just all came together to make a special day. And just like you said, every person I talk, I know exactly where I was. It's just one of those deals where it really did kind of go down in history for sure. And I really didn't have much to do with it. And I got knocked right on my butt on that play, and I almost held. So I didn't really enjoy the moment because I was looking around to see if there was a yellow flag. That would have been rough. I probably wouldn't have been able to go home to my house or even back to Boston. But thank God I didn't hold. I didn't get him. I tried.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so you're my dog. I love you to death. You have had in all of my years in recruiting, you've had two of the best. Like, if people ask me about stories that happen on the road, you may be involved in half of them, if not more than half, because
Right.
it's just hilarious. So
Yeah.
you and I want to tell everybody when you and I got really close. When you were like, you're my guy, and I was like, Vic, I love you to death. When we got close was on a recruiting trip that you had right when I first got here to Kansas. I think I was sending you out to Garden City to see an offensive lineman.
Yep.
Why don't you tell everybody what happened on the road in Kansas heading out to Garden City?
Yeah, well, really, the story starts the day before. I was in Texas, and I ran into a guy from Kansas State, I believe, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going out to Kansas tomorrow." He said, "Absolutely, you can't go. I mean, they're predicting the worst tornadoes, and it's just going to be terrible out there." And I said, "Well," so I remember right when I got out of there, I said, "Man, I got to call Cisco and tell him." I said, "Cisco, man, I just talked to a guy that just came from there. He says it's terrible. You can't go out there." And of course, Tyler said, "No, you're fine. You'll be fine." So then about three different people I ran into, whatever you do, don't go to Kansas. I kept calling Tyler, "No, you're good. You're good." So that day, I forget where I started out, but it was, I guess that would be Eastern, right? And then I was heading west. And somehow there was a 10-hour drive involved. Typical Tyler Siskey, working to the bone. But
look, there's no short way to get to Kansas.
No, there isn't. I gotta admit that you can't. There's no. But anyways, I had a long drive, and I had a couple schools beforehand. Each school, I told each guy, "Yeah, I'm heading west." No, don't do it. They're saying it's terrible. So, anyways, that happened. Kept calling Tyler. "No, you're good. I'm checking it." And just so happens, fast forward a few hours, and I'm in the middle of a field. Like, I haven't seen a cow. I don't know what fields these were. I guess farms, and I haven't seen a house. I haven't seen a car. And then, sure enough, up on the horizon, it just looks like the darkest thing you've ever seen in your life. And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I hope that looks like a tornado." I mean, I've never been out in Kansas, and so right then, a car, like a pickup truck, was coming like 90 miles an hour through the field, and made a right in front of me. And I'm like, and the black cloud's coming, and he's going like 100 miles an hour. I'm like, he's trying to outrun the storm. So I'm like, screw it. I got right on his tail, and we're flying. We're going like 90 miles an hour, trying to outrun this storm. And as it's going, I realized we're not going to outrun the storm. And so I called Coach Siskey, and I'm like, "Tyler, you said I was going to be good, but right now it's not looking like I'm good, man." And so he did. I will say that you remained calm. There were golf ball sized hail. I'm serious. I've never seen anything like it. It was pinging off the car. And I think I remember screaming to you that the windshield's about ready to shatter. And but you did inform me that there was a tornado on the ground. Probably, what'd you say, like 5 miles or something like that?
Well, can we make some confessions now that
Yeah,
that's all over
I
with?
guess so. And by the way, this didn't bring us closer. If anything, this made me want to kill you. But whatever. I mean,
All
however
right.
you remember it.
So since you're not within arm's length of me, I can make a couple of confessions. So
Yeah,
what I did was I called up. I got a site that I'll go to. It kind of shows where everything's at, and it's got like a road map, behind the radar.
right.
And so you gave me a couple of landmarks and what mile marker you were on, things like that. So I kind of knew where you were at and where you were heading. You were keeping me in there. You were inside of probably a mile to 2 miles from it, and it was
Yeah,
coming. And so you were heading to there was a road change. You were
right.
heading to an intersection,
I
and you were
remember.
like, hey, look, I'm just going to get to this intersection or this, and I'm going to find, I'm going to go in a gas station or go hang out this mobile home trailer park.
I
You're going to
remember
let this
that.
thing pass. I'm
Yeah.
joking about the mobile home thing, but I was like, no. I said, you got to you got to keep going because you were coming
Yeah.
at an intersection, and you probably missed it by about minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Probably.
the thing is, we're acting calm about it right now. There was a chaotic scene. I can't hear anything. The hail's damaging. You should have seen when I turned in the car the next day. The guy's like, "What in God's name happened?" I'm like, "Call Tyler Siskey. It's on him." But
That was true story. So I knew the car was just beat to hell.
yeah,
All right, I knew it was beat to hell. And so, if I'm not mistaken, you went after guard. You flew out of Denver, right? Am I
I
thinking
can't
that right?
I can't remember.
Whatever airport I think you kept driving and dropped off at Denver. I'm fully expecting the rental car company to call, and they never
But
called. So I apologize to
that
whatever rental car company that is, but that car was useless. They never called.
the worst moment through that whole thing for me. I don't know if you remember this, but I really was the scariest I was the most scared I've ever been in my life because I was like, I cannot believe this freaking guy got me in the middle of a tornado. And there was a moment there where I was like, "What do I do?" He goes, "Hey, if you have to, just pull over and get in the ditch. Get in the ditch." And I'm like,
Yeah, you got to
"Yeah,
get.
okay. You want me to get in the ditch in the middle of a tornado in the middle of a field?" And
Well,
I
there's
was
no
so
other
mad
option.
at you because I'm like, "Why do I listen to this guy?" But
But
we
did we
made
get
it.
the eval on the offensive lineman or not?
Yeah, we did. But
So hey,
yeah,
that's why I always said, hey, don't tell me about the pain, just show me the baby.
yeah,
So you got it done. All right. So if that wasn't crazy enough for you being on the road, you followed this up. I'm talking about you immediately followed this up. You somehow get back into Memphis at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Recruiting.
Oh, I didn't know you. Okay.
And
Yeah.
somehow, some way, okay, I won't say who, but one of our former coworkers specifically asked me to get you to tell the story.
Yeah.
So somehow at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you're driving back to Oxford from
Yeah.
Memphis,
Yeah.
and somewhere around Byhalia on
Right.
22,
Yeah.
okay, you decide to stop. Somebody's in the middle of the highway,
Right.
and you decide to stop and pick them up and give them a ride at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and this is the second most scared I've ever been in my life. And in both of these stories, you have to understand you got to see the scene. I mean, the tornado was dark and hail and everything. Well, same thing by Halia or whatever you call it. But so I'm heading out of Memphis. So I've gone out of Memphis 1,000 times. Somehow I screwed up the turn. And I was just about ready to make a U-turn, and right then the GPS kicked in and said, "No, go down, 1 mile, make a left." And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just do this, So I got in the darkest and like really weird things were happening. Like one time, the first thing that happened, I'm driving by and I couldn't tell if it was a bear or what it was. It just like a bunch of fur laying on the ground. It was just a big black. I'm like, what the heck was that? And then I'm going down. I understand there's tall grass. It's really creepy. It's dark. And I'm like, where the heck am I? And then I see this possum just spinning around real fast. I've never seen. I'm like, what the heck is that? Did that thing just get hit or what? I mean, it's just spinning, spinning, spinning. So I'm like, what the hell road am I on? So now I'm a little bit creeped out anyway. So come over a rise, and I see this white thing. It looked like a sheet in the middle of the road. I'm like, now what the heck is this in the middle of the road? And so I kind of slow down. I'm about ready to go around it, and the doggone thing moves. And I realize it's a freaking guy. And he kind of gets up on one shoulder, and so I said, okay, this is a perfect setup. This is where I get killed. You know, I stopped to talk to this guy. 3 guys jump out, and it's over. So, anyways, to make a long story short, believe me, I'm not stupid, but I did stop my car. But I had my car running, and I said, hey, are you okay? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, can you get up? And he's like, I'm not sure. So I'm like, oh, God. So I said, look, I'm calling 911. He said, no, do not call 911. Do not call. And I said, well, why not? He said, because I'm indigenous. Now, I went to Boston College, but at that time, I didn't know what the heck indigenous even was. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this is pissing me off. This guy's using big words laying on it. So I said, what the heck does indigenous mean? He goes, homeless. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? I can't call 911. Somehow he's like freaking out about calling 911. So I was like, look, man, I can't leave you in the road. So he goes, can you just help me out? So I said, okay, this is it. This is how, you know, it was so freaky because I'm like, who is this guy? He was kind of dressed in like white, not a robe, but all white pants, shirt. He didn't look like, you know,
was he a painter, you think?
Huh?
You think he was a painter?
Could have been. No, he didn't have any paint on him. It was weird. It almost like, you know, just all white. I mean, the shirt was kind of flowy but I mean, I didn't totally analyze it. So I got out and I'm helping the guy out. And I said, all right, man, good luck. I said, where do you live anyway? He said, down the road a ways. I kind of pointed him in the right direction. I said, all right, good luck. And I'm walking back to the car. I kind of glanced back and the guy's already back on the road. So I'm like, God dang it. So I'm like, look, man, I got to call 911. I know that's a smart thing. No, please. Anyways, next thing you know, I'm helping him in my car. And I'm turned around and we're driving. I'm going, all right, where do you live? So now it's like 2 a.m. I'm going opposite where I want to go. And he's talking away. He said, just bizarre things like, what are they having a parade tomorrow? I said, why do you say that? He said, well, there's balloons on the side of the road. They were just like orange reflectors things. I'm like, bro, those are reflectors. They're not balloons. Where the heck do you live? And so literally he just kept saying, keep going, keep going. Finally I said, look, man, I can't do this anymore. Okay, make a left here, longer road. Anyways, we kept going. I said, look, if you don't know where your house is, he goes, it's right here. And he points to absolutely no house. But I mean, there's so many things I'm dropping out for interest of time. Like he said, he fell off a boat. That's how he got in the middle of the road. I'm like, there's no boat anywhere. I'm looking around for a boat. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, well, my buddies were up there. And so obviously it was completely bizarre. But meanwhile, my wife and kids were in Europe at the time. So I'm like, I could be out here in this field. Nobody even know till like Tuesday, you know?
I would have come looking for you, Vic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody would have, but I don't know how fast I would have found out. It was like a Friday night, you know, my kids weren't there, my wife, so who knows? I mean, I really, but that was, I mean, the hair was standing, like they say your hair stands up in the back of your neck. When I was helping that guy up, I was like, man, this is a perfect setup to, you know, carjack me or whatever they were going to do, you know?
I will say this, you are probably as good of people as everybody likes to think they are. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I could have stopped and picked the guy up.
I know.
I would have rolled the window down and I would have called 911, got the guy some help.
Yeah.
I don't know about putting him in my car.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reasoning with this guy that's laying in the middle of the road, and my wife and daughters were so mad at me. Like, they're like, Dad, you could have been killed. Why didn't you just call him? Why are you reasoning with the guy? Why are you listening to him? He's laying in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? But somehow he was so, you know, so upset if I called 911, and I didn't really. I mean, I thought maybe they'd say, did you hit this guy? You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, you know what I mean?
Look, I walked in. I think you were telling Peeler. I don't remember who you were telling.
Yeah.
Like you just told this story like the next Monday morning. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't something like, if that happened to me, I'm calling my buddies, you know, the weekend.
No, there's nobody to call. It's 2 a.m, Cisco.
Yeah, but you just casually waited a couple of days and like, y'all won't believe what happened the other day. Like, it happens all the time.
Yeah, no, you know, when I got back home, I'm like, did that just happen? Like, what the heck is 2 a.m? You know what I mean? It was really weird, but it happened. if you're listening to the podcast, maybe this guy's listening. If he could just reach out to me, you know what I mean? Just I want to know that he's okay because I never did get him to his house. He just said it's right there, and I'm like, bro, there's no house there, and you know, it's that's just the way it goes. So, but yeah, so you know, people don't realize, but for coaches, man, it's plane, trains, and automobiles. Usually, of course, this May it's not, but you get into some crazy situations without a doubt traveling around the country, especially when you got guys like you running the show, sending us all over the place, not really even worried about our health or anything like that. You know what I mean?
That was not on my agenda. Like I never had to, I never really thought, do I need to keep Vic from picking up people out that are laying in the
No,
middle?
I don't blame you for that one. I don't blame you for that one. The tornado one I'm talking about. 100% blame you for that. And, you know, that just shows me, you know what I mean? You're more interested in getting the eval than coaches coming back alive. You know what I mean? And
Hey, look, I'm a football coach. I'm not a weatherman. I mean, what if there was no tornado? We wouldn't be having this story.
That, yeah, that's true. But there were so many, so many things leading up to it. That's the thing. If I just showed up and all of a sudden it was just this chance tornado, that's fine. But like for 3 days, they were talking about these tornadoes that day. And I talked to like 8,000 people. And by the way, I'm sitting there staring at Rich Rod's two little dogs. I can't say the one name of the dog, but just a shout out to Rich Rod's dogs, man. They're is this like a G-rated thing? I can't swear on this, right?
No, you can. Hey, cut.
Oh, well, the one's named Shithead. I know that. I can't remember the other head, the other name, but it's kind of distracting.
The proper name of the dogs is Roxy and Rambo.
Right, Roxy and Rambo. That's right.
He just calls Rambo shithead.
That's right. Okay, I got it.
All right, so we know one thing a lot of people don't know about the infamous Jack Bicknell. Besides they learn two things: one, you're semi-crazy, and one, you're an extremely nice human being. That's the one thing. That's the first thing.
I would say that's accurate.
All right, but they also don't know is how much you love cigars.
Yeah,
you're a cigar guy. You probably got one right. Yep, there you go. I know you got one. All right, so I this is just me being curious. What is the most expensive cigar that you have smoked?
Well, let's see. I used to go with Brian Dayball's with Buffalo right now. We were in Kansas City Chiefs, and we used to go to like a biker bar, and he would buy me these Padrones because, he made a hell of a lot more money than I did, and he was a nice guy, I guess. They were about $25. That's about the limit. I know Coach Longo down there in North Carolina. I just went down there to visit with him, and I'm pretty sure those were expensive cigars. Cuban.
He likes his too.
Yeah, he loves them too. He's got the half humidor, half wine thing, and so he had some really good ones down there. So those would probably be the two that come to mind. My dad taught me when I was young. He said, "Don't get used to expensive cigars because then you're gonna want them." You know what I mean? So I've kind of kept that in mind, and just tried to stick with the $5-6 type cigar. I usually get online Thompson Cigar 5-pack Fever. You know what I mean? So they're about $5 cigars, but they're good. And as you know, I kind of chew them more than I smoke them, just because this time of year I guess you start smoking them. But just I didn't really want to get into the tobacco deal and that whole thing. So when I'm sitting there watching film, I mean, there's long days, obviously, so I just chew on a cigar. I have no idea why, to be honest with you. So, but
I think I've only seen you smoke them on the back porch and at the golf course.
Yeah,
that's the only time I've ever seen you.
That's it. Where else are you going to smoke them? You can't, in a normal year, you can't smoke them. My wife obviously won't let me smoke them in the house, and then also I can't smoke them at work. So that's where I'm 95% of the time, usually most of the year. You know what I mean? And maybe more than that. And so this is the time of year on the golf course, maybe on the back porch, but even then it's weekends or whatever. So, but I do enjoy them, I must admit.
All right. So would you rather give up smoking cigars for the rest of your life, or would you rather give up saying bro for the rest of your life?
I'm not sure, bro. I'd probably go with, I'm going to give up saying bro for the rest of my life.
Hey, we were joking with Raquel and when she goes to edit out, because she like edits out coughs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and we said if she edited out the word every time you said bro in this interview, that
That's
it would
not
be
true.
down to like a 5-minute interview.
It's a term of endearment to friends. You know what I mean? I just think it's a great term. You know what I mean? And
Ain't no doubt.
but
What you're known for.
I could probably give that up saying that.
You should get a trademark for that.
Yeah.
These guys, I mean, you deserve a
bro.
trademark for that.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
Yeah.
Big question.
Yeah.
Does Jack Bicknell believe that there are aliens?
Aliens, I did not until recently, but
Okay.
When the United States military started saying there's UFOs, as far as I know, that's documented. I mean, I just, well, let me just back up a little bit. So when I first started believing in it, now I don't know, but if there's UFOs, there's got to be aliens, right? Who's flying them? I mean, so you know what I mean? But
that's great. Hey, that's great deductive reasoning.
yeah. So I guess, because I definitely believe in UFOs. Tom McMahon, special teams coach of Kansas City. Again, we were sitting out there. I happened to be living in his house. His family wasn't there. Typical coaches transitioning and things. And so we went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and all we had was a folding chair, and we'd move from the living room to the porch to whatever, wherever we wanted to go sit. And at this point, we were sitting out on the back deck, and all of a sudden we noticed 5 red lights in the sky. I'm like, Tom, what is that out there? I actually videotaped it, but now I lost the videotape. I should have sent it somewhere. But he goes, yeah, that's weird. I don't know what those are. And they were just buzzing around out on the horizon. And all of a sudden, they kept going back and forth. And they all of a sudden, just real quick, they came down, all 5 of them, just right there, right on the horizon. And then all 5 of them just took off and they were gone. I was like, what the heck was that? Because we were watching them. We thought they, somehow drones or whatever. But then, so that got me thinking, like, maybe there are aliens. And then, lately, I mean, I just saw the thing, the naval ship or whatever ship. It seems like they're all kind of like triangles and they blink green, And I mean, could it be Russia or China? Yeah, I guess so. They have something we don't know about. But it really could be the United States. Maybe they're just trying to keep it secret and people saw them. I don't know. But, I tend to believe it's probably aliens. Yeah, it's probably UFOs. And they're, who else would be flying those things unless they're remote controlled or something,
Do you want to know, or would you rather it be a secret?
No, 100%. I want to know. Yeah, I mean, are they going to just come and kill us all like in an instant? I probably wouldn't want to know. But if we got a shot against them, heck yeah, I want to know. Let's. I mean, let's start. I mean, I listened to your deal with Rich Rod about the burner guns and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if that would work or not, but I want something even stronger than that. If I know they're here, yeah, I'll have all kinds of weapons. You know what I mean? And
did you ever hear of the burner gun before Rich Rod?
No, but it's very interesting. I have nothing against guns. I just never grew up around them, so I'm a little bit intimidated by them. So I actually learned something, and I think I'm going to get one. I really am, because
you have to watch the video. Okay, if you don't do anything else today, take 2 minutes of your day and watch the burner gun promo video, and and you'll die. It's awesome.
I will have to. Yeah.
All right, so before we get down this rabbit hole, all right, here we go. Let's buckle up. All right, does Jack Bicknell believe in ghosts?
No, never have. You can see, I want to at least see some kind of physical evidence of something. You know what I mean? And I watch these shows where they got guys with the tape recorders and those machines sticking up in the air, and and I see nothing. I mean, I don't see any evidence at all of ghosts. Now, I can see the triangle-looking things that blink green, so that leads me to believe, okay, that could be something. I mean, I'm not so naive to think that there might not be something else out there. But now I will tell you this: I know you've had experience with ghosts, and you know, that, and I respect you that you're not crazy or anything. And I don't think you try to make something up. So some of the stories that you were telling me did give me pause a little bit. You know, I'm like, well, that's weird. That, you know, and so there's a lot we don't understand. Let's face it, that Long Island lady that, you know, I mean, sometimes she comes up with things. There's no way she could have known about the person. So where did she find that out? You know, so yes, I've been given pause, but I would love to see. I just feel like if they've been trying to find them for so long, there would have been some solid evidence, but who knows? I mean, maybe you're just not meant to find them.
Do you watch the ghost shows on like Travel Channel and all that stuff?
Yeah, sometimes I do. If I'm just flipping around, I just check in to see if they got anything legit going on. And they're like, what was that? And you don't hear crap. It's just static on one of those things. You know what I mean? It's like, or, you know, did you see that? No, I didn't see anything. I mean, it's just you standing there with that thing. And it is creepy because it's dark and they're in some old place. But, you know, my wife believes in ghosts. That's probably why we haven't gotten a bunch of houses that we could have got, because she thought they were haunted. Just walked in, no, this is haunted. I'm like, what makes you say that? I just feel it. Well, okay, you just feel it. You know, obviously any old house has a chance to be haunted. You know what I mean? If it's new, then probably no ghosts in there.
So you just go straight new houses from now on.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and my daughter's the same way. I mean, I forget where we were, Pittsburgh or whatever, but there was an awesome house I really wanted, a great backyard. And all three of them walked in, nope, it's haunted. I'm like, no, it's not haunted. God dang it. But we didn't get that house, I guarantee you that. So, and come to think of it, yeah, we've had mostly newer build houses, you know. But
could be a thing, man.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I will say, because you had some pretty compelling stories with your son and all that. We don't have to go through them all, but the one where your son was in the car seat and what was he? I mean, that one kind of freaked me out.
He got
We got
him on what do you call it, nanny cam or whatever whatever.
Yeah,
having conversations with
people. And
pointing and yeah, just it's.
And your son definitely. I mean, what was he, 3 at the time or something? I mean,
he was young. Yeah, I
mean, he's not even old enough to make it up. So. I mean, I guess my position on it is I don't want to piss off. What's that?
It was very descriptive.
Yeah, and I guess like I don't really make a definitive statement because I don't want to piss off any ghost that's out there maybe listening. You know what I mean? I really don't, because they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll show this guy what a ghost is. So I guess you know, it's just like some things in life you just don't truly know. But I would right now I'm kind of leaning towards probably not ghosts, probably some sort of spirits or whatever. Which, you know, I mean, if you want to call them ghosts, or whatever. I don't, you know, just a white thing going down the hallway. I don't think that's out there. You know what I mean? But there could be some kind of spirit or something that because, like I said, that Long Island Medium, whatever the heck her name is. I mean, I watched that show and she shocks those people, man. And they're like, how could you possibly know that? And like one time, a lady hid a thing underneath the couch or something that no one knew about, and she knew about it, you know. So that makes you believe, yeah, there could be something going on for sure.
Yeah, probably the creepiest. I mean, there were with my son. Probably we had 2 real creepy things with toys turning on by themselves,
right,
and turning off, and then. But the creepiest thing that happened was it was like between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was like when you start celebrating Christmas, you know, before Christmas, and my wife was putting him down. And she was, you know, rocking him to sleep. And then, you know, he just had started talking and all that. And he's like, and he was like, you hear, he kept saying, do you hear them, mommy? Do you hear them? And she's like, what are you talking about? Stop. And he goes, they're singing. And he's like, what are they singing? My wife asked him what they were singing. And he said, he started going, Silent Night.
Oh yeah. See, that's freaky.
Night.
Yeah.
And so my wife's like, you know, stop it. So she's rocking him. And like 30 seconds go by, and my wife had her cell phone like on the table, and all of a sudden her phone turns on and starts playing Silent Night.
No way.
Yeah, that's probably the creepiest thing that, you know, it is what it is. And so
well, that's and so yeah, so I guess I mean that right there may change my mind. I mean, how could that happen? That's what I'm saying. So
I don't know, Big. I don't know. It is what it is.
yeah,
I can't mess with them. So,
no.
all right. So if you're going to talk to somebody about Ghost, do you go to Helen, or do you go to our good friend Jacob Peeler? Whose opinion on Ghost are you trusting more? Your wife Helen or Jacob Peeler?
No, yeah, very similar. You know what I mean? I can't feel like I can trust either one of them. You know, I mean, the fact that Jacob Peeler actually checked into a hotel room, felt some kind of spirit or whatever he felt, and then checked out and lost $100. I mean, that is just that tells me that he definitely believes in him. You know what I mean? You gotta give him that.
We got to get him on here one day. He's got some good ones.
Yeah,
he's got some good ones.
Yeah, he does. He whenever he was out there in California and something happened, I forget what it is now, but yeah, and my wife is, you know, I mean, she truly believes in him, but I mean, she says, "Oh yeah, I feel him." So I don't know. That's a hard one. It's like, what crazy person do you want to talk to? You know what I mean? And it's just they're both crazy, and you know. But again, I reserve, you know, because I just don't want a ghost. I don't want to be all of a sudden ghosts start trying to prove stuff to me. You know what I mean? So I just want. Why are we even talking about it? That's what I want to know. I mean, what are we talking about?
Hey, every noise that happens tonight, you're just going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're not going to sleep for 3 days.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on so we don't creep you out too much.
Yeah.
All right. One thing while we're talking about fear, okay, of all the human beings on this planet, and we've actually talked to a couple of coaches about this, but you're like the perfect one to talk to about this. You may be in the history of human beings the most terrified person of small planes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like small planes. I don't mind big ones. I don't like small ones.
I mean,
no, I just, how many times I mean, if you hear of a big plane going down, you're like, well, that just, you know, hey, it is what it is, meant to be, like getting hit by lightning or whatever. But those small ones, and again, I mean, if anybody's listening, I don't want to jinx anybody or get anybody upset, because I'm sure it's just my own phobia. You know, you know, those guys that we had at home, if there's two pilots, I'm pretty good. And if it's a jet with two pilots, I'm good. When I was the head coach of Louisiana Tech, man, they used to fly me, same type of guy you are. My recruiting coordinator had no regard for my own safety. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're going there, here. And, but yeah, I didn't like some of those situations at all. You know, I just, if it's only me and the pilot, someone happens to the pilot. I mean, it's over, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah. I know the movies, hey, can you tell me how to fly this plane? I could probably fly it.
Well, how many school planes or private planes have you been on with one pilot?
At Louisiana Tech all the time. Really did.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's God. Yep. And you never knew what plane you were getting. You know, it was always different planes, and you know, those are the things I didn't. I would sit right next to them with the things on, and you know, but now it's a little different these days. I mean, you get to Auburn or Ole Miss or whatever, but still, you're still bouncing around like crazy, you know, and I just don't like that.
All right, so can I make another confession to you while we're here on the Home Visit podcast?
Yeah, but I'm gonna run into you again eventually, though. So yeah, just be aware.
All right, so you may not remember this. So the very last day of recruiting in 2018 or 19, I don't remember. You, I, and Matt Luke flew up. We went on. We were on a trip that day, but we finished up. The last person we went to go see was Nick Broker.
Yeah, of course I remember this. Why would I forget this?
Well, we left some things out because you were already worried to death.
Okay.
Okay, so where you started getting worried was when we landed in Illinois. Is it Springfield, Illinois? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, so we landed. Nick and Preston, two best pilots of all time. They say, "Hey, coach, hey, look, we got like a hard out. We got to get out of here because weather's coming in and we have to get out of here." And then you heard it and you go, "Hey, what was he talking about?" I was like, "Oh, Bick, it's no big deal. It happens all the time." So we go and we go see Nick play basketball, and then we go to this amazing restaurant, Best restaurant, Italian restaurant I've had ever.
Yeah, it was
So we go to this restaurant. They had like a bunch of people there, whatever. And the visit was going really good. And it was us in Ohio State, going after them at the end. We had to, close it out. That's why he was the last person. And we're going, well, that hard time had come and gone. And my phone is blowing up from Nick and Press, like, Coach, we got to go. Coach, we got to go. Coach, we're not going to be able to get off the ground. We're not going to be able to get back. It's going to be we're not going to be able to get back home.
Yeah, I wish you would have told me that for sure.
And so Matt is over there next to me, and Matt's like, what's going on? Because he saw me, looking at my phone and replying. And I told him, he's like, all right, we'll try to finish it up. And so we're trying to, like, not to be rude, but we're trying, we got to get the kid, but, trying to get off the ground. And so we didn't tell you anything.
Right.
And so when we get in the car to leave, Matt looked at me and he says, how late are we? So he was trying to codely ask me without you freaking out, like, how late are we that we needed to miss this window to take off? And we were like an hour and a half late.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. So
no, this is, it's funny until something happens. That's not funny for the families or anything.
But it's the last visit. Like, literally, Christmas is coming. This is it. This is the last time.
Yeah, that would have been even worse right before Christmas.
And so he goes, are we going to be all right? I said, well, they're not going. So I told Matt, I was like, well, they're not going to take off unless it's safe. And so you were like on the phone. You wasn't really paying attention. And we got to the airport, and he goes, well, we can try it. That's what he said. And I said, so we got on the plane, and we came home. And tell everybody what happened once we got in the air, Vic.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was the ceiling, as far as I understood. Like you have to have a certain 150 feet or whatever that is, or
500 feet, but yeah.
Whatever, yeah. But I mean, I'm looking up. I mean, it seems like it's right on top of us, and I can't see anything. It was I don't think it was pouring or anything. It was kind of foggy and misty, and
to give everybody a background, so like the runway in Oxford,
right? That's the other thing.
They don't have all right. So, and I'm not a pilot by any stretch of the imagination, but they've told me this: whatever direction the runway runs here in Oxford is the only one in Mississippi that actually runs this direction. So it makes taking off and landing an adventure. And then two is they don't have the lights and the support system to be able to, the ceiling, basically you can't have any kind of fog. There's not enough lights because it's a tight spot. So that's kind of the background. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, but so we got up and, of course I'm panicking. Matt's probably sleeping. You're doing whatever. And I just remember, which I did not know this, but we're coming down. And then, if I can remember right, Tyler, we bypassed the airport, right? Because it was too low.
They tried it; it didn't work.
Right, they tried it. They didn't have enough. That's when your
panic ensued.
Yeah, well, that's when Matt Luke gets up and he starts looking out the window. Then I know I'm in trouble because nothing. He's the opposite of me. Like it's not like we're not even in the air 10,000 feet or whatever we were. It's like we're on the ground and no big deal, but. He started getting up and looking out, and then, I'm not sure if I definitely knew this, but I knew it was taking a long time. I guess I knew they had to circle back around, and I think they were talking about going to another airport or whatever. Well, then they came back around. They're gonna try one more time, and I'm looking through the door, and they can't see anything. I can't see nothing, and. It seemed like just very shortly after that, we hit the ground, like kind of hard. And I will never forget, they were like, oh, yeah, they high-fived each other. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, guys. You didn't just make a basketball shot. You didn't, you know what I mean? You're high-fiving each other because you landed the plane. What's the alternative? You know what I mean? What's the alternative? We all died? I was so mad. But,
if it's your time, it's your time, Vic.
Yeah, but you don't want to take ridiculous, why put yourself at that kind of risk? Like, don't take unnecessary risks.
Well, here's how I look at it. When you're going, I'm not excited about getting on small planes, but one, if it's your time, the good Lord calls you home, it's time to go home. That's one. And two is, I know that those guys flying the plane, they have families too. They don't.
Well, that's what the pilot said to me, because I was trying to talk to pilots, and I'm like, look, guys, who cares if we get back tomorrow? let's get a hotel. We're good. He goes, well, and I said, and I kept saying that. He said, look, the pilot said to me, he said, look, I do care about you and your family, but I care a hell of a lot more about me and my family. So that did comfort me a little bit. But, you're trusting somebody. Who knows if he made the right decision? That's my point. You know what I mean? I'm a cautious guy. I would have got a hotel, and who gives a damn? We'll get back tomorrow. But I don't know if he has that same, like you and Matt don't have that attitude. And God bless you. I hope nothing happens, but you know what I mean? But anyways.
But here's the irony of all this is we talk about risk, but you also picked up a guy laying out in the middle of the road at 3 a.m. in the middle of the interstate.
Yeah, I know that. If I could go back and do that one again, I would have called 911. Right,
I guarantee you that was more dangerous than flight on that plane.
No, 100%. But I knew that, and I was taking somewhat precaution. Well, no, 100%, because they could have just been a setup, and they could have taken my car, killed me, and that would have been it. So I agree with that. I just, especially all alone, and I already saw those creepy things earlier. You know what I mean? It just the whole scene was like really, really weird, and I still don't know where the heck I was. Obviously, south of was it Byhalia or whatever?
Byhalia, it's between Memphis and Holly
Yeah,
Springs.
there was a big white restaurant or hotel or something. I remember turning at that, and then after that, it was nothing but, there's bugs everywhere. It was just really, really scary and weird.
Bugs everywhere. All right, here we go. Football question for you.
Yeah.
Pro, because you've coached in the pros, you've coached in college, all that. Who is the best offensive lineman you've ever coached?
Yeah, best offensive lineman I've ever coached. So I've had some good ones. If you're talking college, I would have to say, I had 2 first-round picks at BC. So Gazda Sherrillis and Anthony Costanzo. They were real good players. You talked about Nick Broker. That's a name that comes to mind just as a college player. We had some good ones at Ole Miss. Royce Newman just got drafted. So those guys were all good players.
Speaking of Nick, I think Nick, I know it'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if this next year is it for him. I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's done a great job, and he's the classic, just kind of doing the old-fashioned recruiting and not really necessarily relying on what other people think. And his coach, Coach Leonard, was winningest coach in school in Illinois history. And he told me in 40 years, I've never seen a better kid than this, and worked harder. And, so we went on him. And, he wasn't the most heavily recruited kid out there. Ohio State came in late, but at the time I was at the school talking to the coach. His dad played at Northwestern. They hadn't offered him yet. I think maybe Illinois had. And so, that was, and again, we all get them wrong, but that was one we definitely got right. And, it all comes down to character and kind of, I think more this day and age than ever, you got to get those old school guys that want to work, that toughness is important, and they love the game, and that's certainly who he was for sure.
I'll tell you I saw the kid hit 13 straight. Of course, this was the infamous day that Coach Luke and I had our one-on-one battle on the basketball court. But I saw Nick Broker hit 13 straight threes. I was like, this guy.
Yeah.
You don't see big guys. He can play the game now. He's an athlete, and
100%.
I knew. A lot of big guys play basketball, but he was like playing basketball. He wasn't just out there playing. The guy, and then his development and how far he's come in a short time. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not being talked about 1 year from right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. Here's another football question for you, because you've been in it a long time. And when I started coaching, and definitely when you started coaching, because you and Newt Rodney used to call plays together, but the game has changed so much, with the spread offense and all that stuff. What run scheme has kind of gone away because of what we're doing in offense today that you would like to see make a comeback?
I would probably say what we're doing here at Louisville is outside zone.
That's
Just
not. I'm talking about old school. I'm talking about like
under
gap
center or in the
scheme.
pistol outside zone.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm talking about like what run scheme like 1,000 years ago with like ISO and freaking lead draw and
Oh
the cheap
yeah,
play. What was your
I
favorite?
mean, we used
like,
to run lead draw all the time, just kind of a little turn back, and that would be a good one. But even outside zone, you do not see that the way either under center or in the pistol, the way we're doing it. You know what I mean? And to
I
me,
remember
that's
when he was at App State. I know exactly what you're talking about. We insert an
Yeah.
H back and tight end, like it's almost like a two back. It's almost
exactly
like
right.
it's almost like ISO with outside zone.
Exactly right. And I'm excited about it because I think it's believe it or not, like when I was at Kansas City, that's what we ran, and we had Jamal Charles, and we just lit up the league doing it. We really did. We led the league in rushing. We were 2-14, couldn't throw it. So that tells me that play is pretty special. And so, I'm not talking about gun and all that, but if you get into under center or two back, like you're saying, tight end, fullbacks reading like the back, all that stuff, that to me is I don't want it to come back. I want us to be the only one to run it because I think it'll give us an advantage if teams haven't seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when he was at App State, I mean,
Yeah.
when we studied that play in the off season, man, I'm talking about, and it's ran to perfection. I think it's not that people aren't trying to do it. It's just, it's one of those deals that you have to know how to coach it. And
Yep.
it's really, and again, not really know how to coach it as much to teach it and get the
Yep.
kids to understand it.
Right.
But it's almost like ISO with outside zone. And
Yep.
he seems to have it, that whatever his magic is, he's got it, and he seems to gut people with it because
Yeah.
he gutted the Sun Belt Conference for years with it. So
Yep. No
and
question.
everybody knew it was coming, and it didn't really matter. It's just one of those plays everybody knows coming. But
Yeah.
I think it messes up with the fits on the defense, man.
100%. That's the thing about that I loved about it in the NFL, because in the NFL you don't have this, although it's changing, I guess now with but the zone reads and the options, it's just so easy to fit those runs, safeties. And when I was with the Giants, I felt that. Now we did win the Super Bowl, so I mean, there's a lot of ways to win, but it's just where does the safety fit? If he tries to fit outside, the ball might cut up, or But it is the most precise play. I mean, they have to understand it's really difficult to get that thing to where you want it. When I was at Kansas City, man, we struggled all spring, all fall camp, and in the NFL, the players will start saying, "What the heck's going on?" I mean, they're going to question you. And I remember Eric Winston. We had taken him from the Texans, and he said, "Man, we're burning the boats." And he he said some colorful language I won't say here, but in other words, everybody shut up because we're gonna burn the boats, and we're gonna do this, and this is what we're doing. And it started really coming together, man. It's a beautiful thing to watch when you do get precise with it. And of course, we had Jamal Charles, who was a great running back, also.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he was, but it's a fun play if you can get it rolling. But it takes some time. It really does.
Yep. All right, so you're a big pizza guy.
Yeah, huge.
Have you found a pizza spot in Louisville yet?
You know what? Right in my neighborhood, we have kind of like a planned community. It's New York old style pizza or whatever. Not bad, not bad. It's legit.
Hey, are you already in a retirement community?
No, I did not say retirement community. You see what I'm saying? You jump right to that. There's plenty of kids there.
You just threw me a softball.
What's that?
You just threw the softball up to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, for most people, won't even think of that. But of course, you jump right to the age thing. You know what I mean? And that's fine. But no, it's not retirement. It's a, I don't know how you describe it. Norton Commons. It has like restaurants and bars and stuff, and parks, and it's really a cool neighborhood. But anyway,
how's the bingo parlor?
There is no bingo being played. I would see. I hope some people from Norton Commons are listening right now, and they can just kill you for this, because it's almost like college for middle-aged adults. That's what it's like. I mean, on a nice night in May, you're going to walk around. You're going to think you're walking across, Louisville's campus or something. It's just, but everybody's like 55, But it's great because I mean, not that I drink much, but if you did have a few, and you don't have to even worry about driving because you just walk home, and anyways, that's where the really good pizza place that I've gotten so far here is. I haven't had much of a chance to get anywhere else, really. I kind of find it's something that I like, and I just keep going back to it,
Have you played in the local shuffleboard tournament yet?
You see, no, I mean, you're getting the wrong impression, though. That's what's upsetting. I don't even care. Okay, you're joking, but you're getting the wrong impression of this place, and it's not anything like that. I mean, I wish I could, I wish we were there right now and I could FaceTime you and show you all the kids playing in the park and stuff. There's young families. Our safeties coach just moved in there. It's got three young kids.
All right. So I like how you snuck that one in there. You finished it strong with it. There were kids and the new safeties coach just moved in.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 3 parks, 3 dog parks. There's dogs. There's everything in there.
I could not get to this interview without messing with age. All right. What's the
Yeah.
all right, so besides pizza though, what's like because I know we talk about pizza all the time because you're Northeast, you love Italiano. What's your favorite Italian dish besides like pizza?
I'll probably just go good old penne with bolognese. That's I mean, in some nice Italian bread with butter and onion salt on it. That would probably be go-to. Chicken Parmesan would be my next. If it's thin and it's kind of crispy, that would be my next one.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Did you wager on the Kentucky Derby?
Is that an NCAA sport? I don't believe it is. Is it?
It is not.
So, is there any legal ramifications for me doing that?
You know what? Just in case they've changed the rules, let's just
Yeah.
don't even talk about that. Let's just skip on over.
Yeah. Let's just say I didn't.
Just say you
know what
went and hang out.
Let's just say I didn't, but I just picked some just to root for, just for the heck of it, and I didn't pick the right ones. So
You didn't pick the right ones. I got
No.
screwed.
some of the
No,
days I picked the right one.
I
But
watched this
I'm-
guy on TV, man, and he had me convinced. They did a great job. This guy that was on NBC, he had me convinced
Yeah.
that Nona Agenda was going to win this thing.
Oh, really?
He's the inside lane. He doesn't have that far to travel. He
Yeah.
won the Florida Derby, which is where the most of the Derby winners come from.
Yeah.
And then once he put on the blinkers, he's undefeated, and he's like
Yeah.
been dominating. I was convinced that he was kind of in that honey hole at like 11-1, that where usually the winners come from. The favorite doesn't win most of the time, and so
Right.
man, I was convinced. Yeah, I dropped 100 on that one. So
Well, let me just say this. So the coolest thing about being in Louisville is I mean, literally, it's a mile from our office. From where I'm sitting right now is Churchill Downs, and 2 mornings we went over there, and Dale Romans, famous, Dwayne Lucas, all these guys are
Yeah.
famous. Baffert was there, just walking around with his horse, so you get there around 7 o'clock. It's like 7:15. All the Oaks and the Derby horses. The Oaks is what you find out being in Louisville. It's a 3-day event. So Derby is Thursday night. That's where all the locals go. That's when I went. But you still got to wear the hats and all the crazy outfits and all that. And then Friday is the Oaks, which is the Phillies, and then of course you have the Kentucky Derby. But to see those horses in the morning, just going out there and working out, it is absolutely amazing. That essential quality of that big gray horse. I thought he was going to win just from being able to see him, but it's there's 1,500 to 2,000 horses back there on any given day. Which when you're just watching the Kentucky Derby, you don't even think about that. But you got what they call the hot walkers, so that people just once they run around the track, you got to walk them for like 20 minutes. So you go back there, people are just walking them around. I don't know how much they make, but it didn't seem like too bad of a job. But you got the vets, the trainers, the jockeys. They got agents for jockeys. I never even thought of that. I said to this guy, "What do you do?" "I'm an agent for the jockeys," because the jockeys have to get rides, So
Right.
And the jockeys are back there, and it's an amazing experience. So it was really fun. And the other thing about it here, most of the horses come from Kentucky. I mean,
Yep.
people don't realize that. And as far as I think I've been told, all of the bourbon comes from Kentucky because if it's not in Kentucky, it's not bourbon, as far as I understand it. So
They take
um,
their bourbon very seriously in Kentucky.
they do. And so, I've been drinking a lot of bourbon and looking at a lot of, no, I really haven't. But I did buy a lot, but I haven't drank it. So, um, but anyways, yeah, so it's a really cool place and it's fun to be here, man, especially around Derby time.
All right, so we got a couple more before we got some celebrities that called in and had some questions for you. We'll get to that in a minute. But what is the coldest game? Because you've been in the Northeast, you've been everywhere. What's the
Yeah.
coldest game that you've ever coached in your 97 years of coaching college football?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say one that I played in was against Alabama up in Boston. CBS Sports was actually knocked off. We were at Roulette Stadium, which is now whatever stadium, where the Patriots play. And it was so cold. It was absolutely terrible. And then actually the coldest, I just blew it, was the Liberty Bowl, Notre Dame in Memphis, Tennessee, was the coldest I've ever been in my life. It would have been 1983. Somebody look up the temperature. There was ice. The Mississippi River was frozen over. The hotel was out of power, and there was actually ice going up the stairs. And sadly, Mike Ruth used to be he was a Heisman Trophy winner. The day before, my dad says, too cold out here. Let's go into this gym. So we go up to the gym. And I thought, it's like Christmas Eve. I'm thinking, okay, we're just not going to be going that fast. Well, he came off the ball like it was the Super Bowl, and he bent me over backwards, and I dislocated my toe. So I never even played it. So I was actually on crutches. But those two games, and then, we went out with the Giants to play Frozen Tundra out there, Green Bay, in the whatever it was, divisional round or whatever the heck it was. The year we won the Super Bowl, that was freezing cold too.
Is that when my man LT kicked the game-winning field goal?
I believe it was. Yes, it sure was. That definitely was.
Lawrence
And
Thomas,
I think he did it in San Francisco though too, didn't he?
He did it in San Francisco. He did it in San Francisco. He did it in Green Bay.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy.
He's a stud. All right. Speaking of the Giants, is Eli Manning a first ballot Hall of Famer?
100%, I think he is, but obviously there's going to be a million people arguing that. But he's got 2 Super Bowls, I know that, and had an unbelievable career. And really, I don't even give a crap about that. He was a great person and someone that I think he was misunderstood sometimes. Like, if you heard what Eli Manning would have to recite as far as calling a play, it was unbelievable. Like, it would take you so long. And, people would say, oh, he's not a competitor. He's real quiet. He was an extremely tough competitor and extremely tough person. So I just think, I don't pay attention to what the heck takes to be a Hall of Famer. In my book, he is. I think he should be because he certainly has won a lot of games. I know that.
I tell you this, that nobody ever is going to talk about the Hall of Fame, but the guy playing in that market for as long as he did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy. Being a quarterback for the Giants or being a quarterback for the Jets,
yeah,
or being the star for the Yankees or the Mets, whatever. I mean,
right.
That's dog years, man. I mean,
100%. And he handled it so well. And it's. I mean, to me, he was the epitome of a great person because he could have been very arrogant, very in the NFL, if your big money guys are not solid people, it's really tough. Well, he was the exact opposite. So my first experience with the NFL was so great because it was like a college team, the Giants, and we were 7-7 that year. Guys could have given up, and they were saying we had to win out. We had to go play the Cowboys and the Jets. If we didn't win them, we were getting fired. But so it wasn't one of those years where we came out. I mean, Green Bay was like 15-1 when we played them. We were 7 or 8-7 or whatever it was.
Right.
But it just goes to show if you have character, you can do amazing things. And I think Eli was the leader of that for sure.
And then, we can't have an interview out talking about this too. And you mentioned it earlier, but you did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
With the Giants. And for me, you think back in your career, like the pinnacle and things that, goals that you've always had. I know for me was even as a kid is, when I got into coaching, I wanted to win an SEC championship.
Right.
And I remember uh, finally being able to do that and the feeling that you have of accomplishment, all that. Is there anything better? And I know you kind of mentioned, the Hail Mary. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
How does like winning the freaking Super Bowl, man? How does that compare in like moments in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it was right up there. The thing of it is, you have such a feeling of accomplishment. I worked for Tom Coughlin, who was the greatest guy in the world, and what a great coach. But man, he believed in hard work, and we started off that year, July 25th, 26th, whatever it was, and here you are, February 5th, I believe the game was, and you're talking about not getting much sleep and working just unbelievable hours. And so I think that was more than anything. And then also the fact, like I said, that it wasn't like we weren't even talked about. We were talked about we were going to get fired. And just the fact that we knew that we stuck together through it and never gave up and never stopped believing that we could do it, so that was very special. And, just a feeling of, the amazing thing is like both families go down through the tunnel. So the Patriots families are in one tunnel, our families are in the other tunnel, and they just have a little tiny TV they're watching because, there's 3 minutes left in the game or whatever it is, because whoever wins, they're going to get it to go out on the field, just a feeling like I was up in the box. So, and people forget, so many clock management things, but we weren't sure if we should score at the end. We were actually, I'm not even sure we ever came to a consensus as to exactly what we're going to do, but Ahmad Bradshaw fell in the end zone. Sure enough, here comes Tom Brady right down the field, and he threw one up, and Gronk could have had a chance to catch it. So it was scarier than it seemed at the end. But just the fact that you knew you were the champions, and the confetti's coming down, and you go to your family on the field, and it just. I mean, and the other thing was the parade in New York. I mean, if you do anything in New York, it's huge. New Jersey, New York, that area. So I think there was 2 million people at the parade. So it's hard to top the Super Bowl. I mentioned our games at Boston College were especially special for me. Number one, I was playing, but number two, my dad was the head coach. And so I would still put the BC things above it because of those factors. But the Super Bowl was amazing.
That's awesome. All right. So key question is when we get off this interview, you're fixing to go tee it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You and I can't do an interview without talking about golf.
Right. Yeah, I know. And I'm sure it's going to be driving yardage or something.
No, I actually did not put anything on here about me hitting them building 2 Walmarts between my ball and your ball. Didn't put anything in there about that.
Yeah. Well, you just did. So.
All right. So, but have you gotten any new golf shoes since I last saw you? Are you still wearing the same ones?
From Coach Luke, you mean?
You're still wearing the ones that Coach Luke gave you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I got those are my dry shoes. I did go get some Adidas because we're with Adidas, so but I wear those for the wet shoes. But I do have those white ones still. Yeah, yep.
All right, so give everybody a little background. Do you want to tell everybody why Coach Luke had to give you a pair of golf shoes?
I don't really exactly remember. I'm not sure what you're referring to as far as golf shoes. Are you talking about?
So when we played golf for the first time here at Ole Miss,
yeah.
you brought out shoes that you had in storage for years.
I know where this is leading to, but
so they were white golf shoes, some brand that had been out of business for decades.
Yeah.
And they had like black mold on them. And Coach Luke was like, "You can't play in those golf shoes." And so he just gave you a pair. He had an extra pair in his office, and he gave you the pair of golf shoes.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was very thankful for Coach Luke to give me those, but I didn't realize.
I used that to get in your head to win win the bet. Their golf shoes.
Huh?
I used that as ammo to get in your head a little bit on the golf course so I could win the bet.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going with the other shoe story, but I guess
we're going there. Well, we're going there.
Yeah, well, I do have a tee time pretty soon, so
okay. Like, we'll get on it. All right, here we go. We'll skip all the way down to it. How about that? So we had a call-in question from a celebrity. Call in that wants you to tell the story about your shoes disintegrating in Hamilton Hall's home visit.
Well, So the reason I say that, what I did find out, and this is a perfect segue into it, because the golf shoes got mold on it. But what I found out was, if you put it in storage, now I thought we got air conditioning, maybe we didn't, I have no idea. But yeah, I had a shoe problem, and I had all my dress shoes down there, because when you're out of a job, you really don't need dress shoes, and that's what happened. I didn't get a job, so we put stuff in storage, and yeah, so I finally got them back. I was actually excited to see all that stuff, and matter of fact, Phil Longo was there, and we were going to Hamilton Hall's house, and I had black, what I thought were really nice shoes, and so it's sure enough, she has a white rug. It looked like everything was white, and we were talking, having a few little hors d'oeuvres and things. So then I walked over to the couch, and I sat down at the couch, and I'll never forget looking at that white rug, and I'm like, man, there's stuff all over the place. So what, did she not vacuum, or I don't understand what's going on? And it was just black flakes of whatever all over the white rug. And as I'm doing that, I glanced down at my shoes, and my shoes no longer have any, like, they're just like, like they have the fancy, like, shiny stuff on it. Now they're just dull, and they look like, I'm like, what in the world? And there was just a few little flakes of whatever you would call that, the shiny stuff left on them. So what I realized was my shoes had fallen apart on her rug. And yeah, so that's an odd position to be in, because I was hoping no one would notice, but it was just kind of one of those things you almost couldn't notice. And I wasn't sure if I'd say, look, my shoes just fell apart. You know what I mean? Can I help you pick this up? So I just tried to keep it going, and then it became uncomfortable, and I think she was starting to notice it. And finally, I just came clean. I said, look, I have no idea what happened, but my shoe fell apart on your rug, and I think we should get that up, because it probably could stain. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that was the shoe story, and both of those stories were related. But you do have to be careful of storage. I guess we just didn't get air conditioning or something. I have no idea.
All right, who's the better center? Jacob Peeler, Matt Luke, or Jack Bicknell?
Yeah, well, I mean, Matt's not the head coach anymore, so I don't really have to worry about that as much. You know what I mean? So, but I'm trying to answer this honestly. Jacob. Yeah, I am. Jacob Peeler was my starting center when I got fired as the head coach, so he's probably out right away, right? I mean, you would hope that he could have done more, and maybe we would have done better. But between me and Matt, I mean, I would probably have to go with me, honestly. We had more success as a team, you know what I mean? 4th and 5th in the country. But, I'm not as sure about that. I'm sure Matt would say it was him. So, and if he was still the head coach, I would say Matt. But no, I would have to go with Matt Luke, honestly. And probably I was third, honestly. Jacob Peeler is probably better than me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time for my second favorite segment, because the last segment is the best one. We have what we call associate roulette here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you just got one question from a celebrity associate, but we had another celebrity call in and wants to be a part of the associate question. So I got it before we get to the roulette part. There's this guy named Richard Rodriguez.
Right. One of my favorite guys.
Rich Rod called in, and he wants to know from Jack Bicknell, what is the one thing the offensive lineman cannot do on the belly play?
What it's really what they have to do, and that is, and I can't, it's hard to talk about this without swearing, but I'm not going to swear. But there were certain words in front of this word, but certain word, and then track. The whole thing was track. And if I've heard Coach Rich Rod say that once, I've heard it 1,000 times. And but he was one of my all-time favorite guys, man, and loved working with him. But yeah, he would get upset if we did not stay on the right track. In other words, just if we were running inside zone, the center had A gap, and if we if we didn't do that, that was going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think that's why he asked. He just want to make sure it was still fresh.
Yeah, no, I believe me, that was ingrained in my head for sure.
Yeah, I think he just want to make sure it was still in there.
Yeah, it's still in there.
All right, it's time for associate roulette. Okay, so
Yeah.
associate roulette, we have questions that have been given to you by the associates, and you get to
Okay.
pick 2 of them. Okay, so you got to pick a random number 1 through 8.
I'll go 6.
6. Oh, guess who asked this question?
Who?
Clay Karcher.
Oh, okay.
All right, so he
This
wants
should
to
be-
know who was the better quarterback, Doug Flutie or Matt Ryan?
Interesting. Different quarterbacks. I'm going to go Flutie every time, but I love Matt Ryan. I mean, I think Matt, those are 2 of the best quarterbacks, to me, in the history of Boston College for sure, but really of the game. I mean, they're and you get in the NFL, and they both had different things happen to them, and it's so much a part of who's around you and all those things. But I would have to go with Doug Flutie, just in the sense of making plays out of nothing and elevating a team that wasn't very good to the highest level. And that I'm talking college. If you're talking NFL, obviously Matt Ryan's had more success in the NFL, although Doug was up in the Canadian League for a lot of years. So I'm not going to answer that. That's like, what kid do you love the most? That's impossible to answer. But I think they both had different styles, but were both great quarterbacks.
It's fair. That's fair. All right, last one. Pick a number 1 through 8. You've already picked 6, so 1 through 8.
7.
7 goes from a man, Hunt Coleman.
Okay.
Hunt wants to know who was the best defensive lineman you ever had to prepare for.
I mean, as far as me playing, that would be Mike Ruth, who people don't maybe remember who he was. Heisman Trophy winner, bench press 565 pounds. He was just an absolute nightmare, especially if you were my size. As far as, I'll tell you what, that Hainsworth, man, when he was playing, he was scary. He just kind of, and I think he got paid and he didn't play as hard, but when he was at his prime, that's the one that sticks out to me. Like, how are we going to even think about blocking this guy? And Ndamukong Suh was hot and cold, but he was a good one. And then when you talk about edge players like Von Miller, Dumerville, actually from Louisville, he was a heck of a player. There's guys I'm missing out on, but there were, obviously there's been so many great D linemen. That's what makes the game tough to be an O-line coach, because you're trying to block these freaks that have such athletic ability. Makes it tough.
Yeah, especially, and the thing that nowadays that gets you all concerned is everybody's 3 down now, and then getting your center singled up, on
Right.
some freak show, and it makes your O-line week as preparing as crazy as you want it to be. All right,
No
so it's the
question.
last segment. Time for the very last segment, Vic.
Yep.
I have to say this is my favorite segment, because if I don't, I'll be sleeping on the couch.
Right.
This is what my wife wants to know.
Okay.
So Erin came up with this question.
I love
Okay,
Erin.
so she's got it for you.
Yep.
All right. So I don't know if she conspired with Helen or anything on this question, but she wants to know, what is the hardest part, because you've been around. What is the hardest part about being a Northerner living in the Deep South?
Yeah, that's interesting. Just trying to be accepted, coming from Boston. People talk about the hospitality in the South, but it's for other Southern people. You know what I mean? If you're a Yankee coming down there, it's not as hospitable. You know what I mean? And I actually feel like that's not the case in the North. I mean, if someone's from the South, we don't care. You know what I mean? We're going to help them out any way we can. So I don't want to piss off every Southerner on this thing or whatever, but that was just kind of my experience. So, but what happens when you beat Alabama, that makes a big difference. You know what I mean? But I asked one guy, I said, when am I going to stop being a damn Yankee? I've been down there like 17 years. He said, you'll never stop being a damn Yankee. Maybe your grandchildren will if you stay down here. So, but I forget the question now, but what was the question? What's the hardest part?
What was the hardest part about being a Northerner living in the Deep South?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. It's just, you always have that damn Yankee tag on your head. You know what I mean? And that makes it difficult. And, people from New Jersey, we have a certain reputation, which probably there's some truth, some validity to it, but that doesn't mean everyone from New Jersey is like that. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, that's the hardest part. Just kind of trying to be accepted. You know what I mean? But I'm just kidding around. Of course, I love the people in the South, and great people. I spent 10 years in Ruston and Ole Miss and Oxford and Auburn, and so I got to become. Yeah, I got to be getting to the point where I'm going to be accepted now. You know what I mean?
I take you in. I think you're.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I would have, like, all kidding aside, if you had never told me where you were from, I didn't already know that. Never would have thought of it. Never would have guessed it.
No, that's right. And that's what I mean. Somehow we have a bad reputation from media or whatever, but there's great. I know this. I've lived all over the country. I know one thing. There's great people all over this country, and you watch the news these days, you think we're totally falling apart, but then when you get around people, you're like, no, we're not. I mean, we have normal people. You know what I mean? And
they're out there.
So, yeah, they're out there. So God bless America, and just stop watching the news. Everybody will be all right.
I have stopped. I have watched. I try. I'll flick it on. Wife gets mad at me. I'll turn it off. I don't even watch anymore. It's gotten done.
No, I give up.
I give up. So I want to thank my man Jack Bicknell for joining us today. I know he's got a tea time. We're not.
I got to roll, Rick. I got to roll, man. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I'm going to drive my 230-yard drive right in the middle of the fairway.
230 yards. When did you add 60? Are you hitting from the senior tees yet?
No, they won't let me, but I should.
You should. That was what people don't know, is that's what you always tried to do on the golf course, is you tried to get up on the front tees, and you can't.
Yeah. No,
it's not there. It's not time.
All right, bro. I got to roll, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
Appreciate you. It was fun.